WWL-TV, Channel 4, New Orleans. Garland Robinette, Angela Hill, Jem Henderson, and meteorologist Dave Barnes. Louisiana's news leader, Channel 4's Eyewitness News, Nightwatch.
Good evening. Hundreds of women in the New Orleans area had a door slammed in their face today.
The health club they had joined suddenly closed. Kelly Lyn Figure Salon of Louisiana has apparently gone belly up, and its clients are afraid they'll never get back the hundreds of dollars they paid for a membership. As Janet Gross reports, they say they got no warning, and now they're getting no answers.
Workout?
Yep. No, she's not. The workout club she joined just quit on her.
Shopping area? Yeah. How you been?
Kelly Lyn Figure Salon of Louisiana has filed for bankruptcy, closing all of its stores in the area.
I was here yesterday. It was business as usual yesterday. They didn't breathe a word. Now today you can see all the files are going and the lights are out and there's a sign on the door. That's what you were greeted with.
That sign tells clients basically, sorry, but we're out of business. Many of the customers just couldn't believe it.
We sincerely appreciate your understanding.
Yeah, they got your money out.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I understand.
Those we talked to say they feel cheated. They'd all heard about Kelly Lyn closing 2 other shops a couple of months ago, but say they were assured their membership was secure.
And I said to her, this is not in preparation for closing the studio down, is it? Oh, no way. We're just closing on Sundays because we don't have that many people. And see, here the very next day they want to put the sign up.
The president of the company, Frank Tribble, did not return our calls, neither did his attorney. Meanwhile, hundreds of women in the New Orleans area are left wondering what has happened, why, and will they get their money back?
I'm going to find out what can be done. I'm tired of people just doing what they want to do.
They can close up, but give me back what I paid for. It's close to $400. My husband told me this was going to happen a month ago.
And I just don't think they ought to do that. I mean, if they know they've got to know that they're going to close.
They very well might have. The papers for bankruptcy were filed on September 26th, and that was before a lot of these women paid their money.
I think there's some explanation.
But no one's giving one yet. All these people know is that they're left holding the bag. They paid Kelly Lyn their money to work out, and now they have to wait while Kelly Lyn works it out in bankruptcy court. I'm Janet Gross, Eyewitness News, Nightwatch.
According to the note on the salon doors, the shutdown is a permanent one. Kelly Lyn, it says, intends to sell off all of its assets to try and repay creditors. Eyewitness News has been told tonight that the owners of the French Riviera Spa say they will honor the Kelly Lyn memberships for those customers who choose to use their facilities.
A new federal bill that will enable women to start new businesses was passed today by both the House and the Senate in Washington. The measure, authored by Louisiana Congresswoman Lindy Boggs, will give women and other minorities financial management and marketing help while entering the workplace. Mrs. Boggs says it's breakthrough legislation that took 3 years to get passed.
The women entrepreneurship is really the fastest growing and the part of sector of our economy that's employing the most people. And so this bill creates equal credit, equal commercial credit. It removes all the inhibitions that were placed there by the Federal Reserve and its regulations.
President Reagan is expected to sign the bill into law within the next 10 days.
An emergency landing by a cargo plane at New Orleans International caused one of the airport's runways to close for 3 hours tonight. The twin-engine Beechcraft 18 was attempting to land on a flight from Pine Bluff, Arkansas, when its landing gear collapsed and the plane skid 300 feet before coming to a halt. The plane's pilot was not injured in the landing, and there was no fire aboard the aircraft. At last report, airport crews were attempting to move the plane off the runway so commercial flight traffic could resume. The FAA is expected to look into the emergency landing. Well, any doubts over what happened last May when a TACA Airlines pilot made an emergency landing in New Orleans East could be erased tomorrow. The actual recorded conversations between that TACA pilot and the tower at the airport will be released tomorrow. Today, transcripts of the exchange were made public, and early indications show that the pilot acted correctly when he found a grassy strip of land on which to land the plane. The National Transportation Safety Board has already ruled that the plane's engines failed in heavy rain.
A New Orleans man was shot and killed outside a 9th Ward bar tonight. Customers inside Maddie's Bar on the corner of Forstall in North Urbany say they heard gunshots outside the bar about 7:30 tonight. When the patrons went outside, they saw a man lying face up on the sidewalk with several gunshot wounds to the body. The victim was dead on the scene. Police are not releasing his name until they can notify the man's family. They did say he is a 21-year-old New Orleans man. And a New Orleans man has been arrested in connection with an afternoon murder. Police arrested Charles Cook at the Orleans Parish Coroner's office, where he had come to view the dead man's body. Cook was apparently living with the victim at an apartment on Esplanade. He is a convicted felon from Virginia. The still unidentified 39-year-old victim was found shot in the head in the apartment late this afternoon. Police say an eyewitness saw Cook flee from the apartment just moments after the shooting. Cook was booked with murder tonight.
St. Bernard firefighters are investigating a blaze that swept through the home of police juror Junior Rodriguez tonight. The 3-alarm fire caused extensive damage to the house. Firefighters say Rodriguez's home is located at the lower end of the parish, and by the time they arrived, the entire front of the house was engulfed by flames. No one was hurt in the blaze. Fire officials say arson is not suspected.
Saying he bought some time, Governor Buddy Roemer is gearing up for another campaign on his tax reform proposal. Today, the full House narrowly voted to keep Roemer's tax package alive, thus sending the plan to the Senate. However, the House-approved version is decidedly different from Roemer's original proposal, but it doesn't seem to deter the governor, who now says he has time to educate lawmakers.
There are at least 6 votes on fiscal reform in the legislature, at least 6. And at every step of the way, there will be minor changes and major hurdles. And just because at one point you don't get a completely satisfactory answer, I think fiscal reform is worth pushing forward.
The altered version of Roemer's plan keeps the $75,000 homestead exemption intact. It also assures that state residents can continue to deduct federal taxes on their state income tax returns.
The 2 presidential contenders faced off in the second and final televised debate this evening in Los Angeles. Even though they are battling for the top job in government, one of the first exchanges was over the men occupying the number 2 spot on the ticket.
Incentive, and I made a good selection. And I've never seen such a pounding, an unfair pounding on a young senator in my entire life. And I've never seen a presidential campaign where the presidential nominee runs against my vice presidential nominee. I've never seen one before.
Time since World War II, the vice president has had to suddenly become the president commander-in-chief. I picked Lloyd Bentsen because I thought he was the best qualified person for the job. Mr. Bush picked Dan Quayle, and before he did it, he said, "Watch my choice for vice president. It will tell all." And it sure did. It sure did.
The 2 men also debated issues like the budget, nuclear defense, abortion, and Social Security.
I think most agree it was a fairly low-key debate for both of the candidates. If there was any spark, it came with the issue of the Supreme Court. 3 of the present justices are in their 80s. The next president may have a chance to make a lasting mark on the High Court. When the issue arose, both men found themselves on the defensive.
Is appoint people to the federal bench that will not legislate from the bench, who will interpret the Constitution. I do not want to see us go to, again, and I'm using this word advisedly, a liberal majority that is going to legislate from the bench. They don't like the use of the word, but may I remind his strong supporters that only last year in the primary, to capture that Democratic nomination, he said, "I am a progressive liberal Democrat. I won't support judges like that."
If the Vice President of the United States thinks that Robert Bork was an outstanding appointment, that is a very good reason for voting for Mike Dukakis and Lloyd Bentsen on the 8th of November. And I think Mr. Bush supported the Bork nomination. You know, Mr. Bush has never appointed a judge. I've appointed over 130, so I have a record. And I'm very proud of it. I don't ask people whether they're Republicans or Democrats. I've appointed prosecutors. I've appointed defenders. I don't appoint people I think are liberal or people who I think are conservative. I appoint people of independence and integrity and intelligence, people who will be accredited to the bench.
Well, joining us now to talk about tonight's presidential matchup is Channel 4's political analyst, Dr. Ed Renwick. How did this one match up to the previous one and to the vice presidential debate?
I thought of the three debates, this was by far the most interesting. Of course, that's relatively speaking. I thought that they were much more articulate tonight than they were in the other debates, and much more relaxed, which I noticed the most. They seemed like they were real human beings up there talking. They were also much nicer to one another. I thought the whole theme throughout the whole debate was, much less severe than in the other debates. And also, they didn't spend the whole evening talking about the Pledge of Allegiance.
How about winning? Either candidate win?
I thought it was an even contest. I don't think either one of them won. There were no gaffes at all by either one of them. There were no great zingers. Both of them answered the questions well, and both of them evaded sometimes the answers to the questions well. If anybody won, I guess you possibly would have to give the edge to Bush because he was leading in the polls as he came into the debate tonight, and since it looked like it was an even-Steven debate, he would possibly benefit the most.
Do you think that voters, especially those who have not chosen a candidate yet, really make a decision on these debates?
I don't think many of them would, because it seemed to me to be very close, and the election is not for another 3.5 weeks, so I don't think it would have any big impact on election day. It just would be there just would have been a big impact if one of them made a fool of themselves tonight, and neither one did that at all.